Hi guys, so we're out here cruising the roads today. Beautiful country roads in Missouri in the summer. Far better in the fall, but not too bad in the summer. It's a hot day, 90 degrees. I'm not going to be pushing the car too much today, but I wanted to tell you guys why I think the Subaru WRX STI is the best bang for your buck sports car you can buy. Now, as far as this car goes, I daily drive a 2017 Subaru WRX STI. Heretofore mentioned as just the STI because the name's way too long. But the STI base price is $37,000, around $500. Some of the specs on the car are 305 horsepower, 291 foot-pounds of torque out of a turbo horizontally imposed 4-cylinder motor, so a boxer 4-cylinder motor. The same motor that's been in the Subaru STI since 2004, and the 2.5 liter variant has been around, I think, a little bit even longer than that. I think since the early 2000s. Actually, the 2.5 RS in the 98, 99 model years was a 2.5 liter, obviously. So the motor's been around for a little while. It comes standard with Brembo STI brakes, 4-piston calipers in the front and 2-piston in the rear. I forget exactly what size in millimeters the rotors are on this car, but it's more than you'll ever need in any other, driving condition other than track driving. And even then, all you have to do is switch out the pads. It comes with a standard 6-speed manual transmission. I don't exactly know the model of the transmission, but it's probably survived more 6K clutch dumps than any transmission on the market. It has standard Subaru Starlink and nav and all that stuff. You can pay for the subscription. I don't, because, well, quite frankly, I have a smartphone. It has all the nice bits of the dash gauges. It has 3 different drive modes: Intelligent Sport and Sport Plus, that do a few negligible things at best. When you get a Cobb Access port, which I'll detail later, it allows you to select target boost. And it also has an adjustable driver-controlled center differential, DCCD for short. And so, when you consider all of those things that you get in this package called the STI, it really speaks volumes about how much of a bargain this car actually is. So for $37,000, you get a basically track-ready car that you can daily drive. You can take out to the track. You don't have to, treat it like a garage queen. You can set it up. You can put coils on it. You can build it. You can modify it. You can drive it. You can do literally whatever you want with this car. It will do it, and it will do it well. You can make a drag car out of it. There's just the possibilities of what you can do with this car are endless. And it has that special feeling. You don't just hop in your Subaru STI and expect to find other Subaru STIs out on the road. It is a special car, and it's not something that just anybody goes out and buys or goes out and drives. It still has that unique feeling to it, that unique look, that identifiable sound, look, appear. When you see or hear an STI, you know that that's what it is. And so, if I were to compare this, it's $37,000 for a base base model car. Really, the only comparison I think you can make with this car, apples for apples, is the Ford Focus RS. And I have test drove 2 Focus RSs, and they are brilliant cars. They are awesome cars. They do have one feature on them that the STI does not have, and that's adjustable suspension from inside the car, the electronically adjustable suspension. The STI does not have that. But quite frankly, I don't necessarily know that the Focus RS is a better car. You know, granted, there's a few things that you get when you buy an STI that you don't necessarily get when you buy a Focus. And those things are going to be very hard for Ford and the Focus RS to really kind of come to grips with. And what I mean by that is you get a huge community of people that are always there at, you know, the drop of a hat to help you out. The Subaru community is, by and large, one of the best communities to be a part of in the car industry, period, hands down. It's amazing. The second thing you get is, you know, reliability and longevity out of the platform. For example, the STI's been around in relatively unchanged form for 14 years, while the Ford Focus RS was released, I believe, in 2016. And, you know, already it's had some reliability issues. The head gasket recall is a huge issue for Ford. And, you know, the build quality issue, the build quality issue there is kind of a big deal. Even though Ford does a voluntary recall, you know, so you get some of the, you know, modifiable aspects. It's you know, $1,500 away, $1,500 to $1,600 away from being a 380 crank horsepower car, which puts 300 down to all 4 wheels via the symmetrical all-wheel drive system in the Subarus. And the Focus RS is just to buy an air intake in that car is significantly more expensive than, you know, buying a air intake for an STI. The parts are just outrageously expensive. And Mountoon, the Focus RS tuners and you know, parts suppliers and things of that nature are definitely reputable, and they make good products and they do some great things. And the Focus RS can be a very quick car, stock with little modifications, but they're very expensive, you know. So when you figure the fact that the car costs about the same as the STI does, base price, but it's going to cost so much more to make it more than what it is to modify it, then you really, you know, come to an understanding that the STI is probably the best bang for your buck in that segment. Why does it not compare to some cars that it typically gets compared to, even the WRX per se? Well, let's see. It doesn't compare to the GTI at all. It doesn't compare to the Golf R, quite frankly, because the Golf R is $5,000 more. I don't think it really is a fair comparison to stack it up against the Civic Type R. It is a sport touring car. It is front-wheel drive, though, so it doesn't even have the same drivetrain. And it is, quite frankly, when you consider brand new for brand new, it's far out of the price range of the STI, the Civic Type R, that is, than would be a fair comparison. The Civic Type R, brand new, is still going in for in excess of $44,000 to $45,000, which, you know, when you consider $7,000 to $8,000 more, I don't necessarily know that you know, classifies as being in the same class of car. I'm sure it, you know, is considered the same class of car, but, you know, it's just the Civic Type R is not $8,000 more, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, than the Subaru WRX STI. The Mustang GT, it gets compared to quite frequently a lot, but that's an apples to oranges comparison from my perspective. When you consider American muscle as opposed to, you know, the tuner car aspect of the STI, then you really don't give the STI a fair shake And quite frankly, you don't give the Mustang GT a fair shake either, because a base GT is around $33,000, and it doesn't come with half the amenities, the nicer interior bits that the STI has, the Brembo brakes that the STI has, the STI 6-speed transmission, because the transmission in those Mustangs is trash. It really is just junk compared to the STI transmission. So it's really kind of an apples to oranges comparison. They compete in completely different segments. As far as, you know, experience driving the STI, I think that's really where the STI wins as being the best bargain. The experience is just so visceral. It's so much fun. Yes, it doesn't have, you know, 100, it lacks 45 horsepower in the Focus RS. Yes, it lacks over 100 horsepower from some of the more typical cars like the Mustang GT and the base model Camaros. But what you get in this package is just so different and so unique and so fun and so drivable that it's really hard to compare this car to something else in the same, even the same segment. And you know, it's far cheaper. It's far cheaper in the long run with all the extra. I would tell you could not build. You couldn't even take a WRX and build it to the specs of an STI for even close to $37,000. You couldn't do it. You cannot. And you know, some of the build quality in the Focus RS has really made it evident. You know, the seats are not really applicable to a wide range of people. They're very bolstered, they're very tight. The Microsoft Sync system is not the best system in the world. The ride quality is terrible in the Focus RS. It's very bumpy, very bouncy. It does hold the road well, but it's very uncomfortable to daily drive. And so the budget that these companies have to abide by when they're building cars like these has really reared its ugly head in cars like the Focus RS. And when you throw budget out the window and you build a car far beyond, you know, you make the car comfortable, you make, you know, it nice to drive, you make the interior a nice place to be, like the Golf R and the Civic Type R, you basically price yourself out of this segment. And fortunately, Subaru's been building this car for 14 years. They've worked out all the bugs when it comes to building and providing a car that not only is track ready, but is also easy to live with. I fit 2 children under the age of 1 in the back seat of this car. I'm 6'4", and my driver's seat is all the way back, and there's plenty of room for four passengers, even if they weren't my kids or whatever, even if they were, you know, young adults, or, you know, even my brother, he's 6'1". He fits in the back fine behind me. Yes, his feet are tucked under the seats, but this car is so livable. You can do anything in it. And so I think, unfortunately, this car gets a bad rep for being outdated, unreliable, slow, heavy, not nimble anymore, leaving all the recipe that Subaru basically established with the first generation of the STIs and even the JDM STIs in the early 2000s, leaving that recipe. This car's blamed for doing all of that, but I still think that it is, by and large, one of the best bargains in the sports car market you can buy today. Especially when you consider, if you just want to get into it for, you know, 2 or 3 years and you want to hold on to it, the car holds its value. You're not going to lose. You're not going to lose your rear end in a car and get stuck with it. So this car, just by and large, provides you probably the most versatile, usable, fun, you know, gives you everything you want experience that you could have in a daily driver car. And, you know, from my perspective, I valued that as a consumer. I valued that as a driver. I valued the fact that I didn't have to leave the car in the garage in the rain or the snow, that I could take it out and I could use it. And so that is why, in my opinion, the WRX STI is the best bang for your buck sports car you can buy on the market today. Thanks for hearing me out, guys. Have a great day, and God bless.